The minister himself said that this is why we have to regulate you. This is why we need statutory media regulation.
But we've been told again by the president that this is being driven for the bill that's being drafted. It's by the Media Liaison Committee and not government. So
this bill, Hope, cannot be produced by the Media Liaison Committee for two reasons. A, they do not even have the competence to produce this. This is done by drafters, technocrats within government. Here is a stamp approved for Internal Registration Committee. Okay, Parliament. Okay, there's a name here, Chief Parliamentary Council. It's been given to Parliament, this document. And look here, it's even saying secret. Why should it be a secret?
Yeah,
we have to be consulted.
Before I get to you, Mr. Mambo, let's listen to what the Media Liaison Committee acting chairperson, Madame Felicitas Chipako, had to say on this matter. She had a few things to say.
Procedures of drafting and ensuring that the bill is ready to go to Parliament have been done. This is about the journalists. It's about MLC ensuring through the technical working group, ensuring that we do the right thing for the journalists to ensure that there's professionalism and ethics in our profession as journalists. So this has nothing to do with consulting. They've already started their own process. We are not regulating media houses. We are looking at the issues of ensuring that journalists' welfare are very well taken care of.
All right. Mr. Mambo, you wanted to come in there.
Thank you very much. So before I comment on the soundbite from Felicitas Chipako, my sister, I want to also add a voice to what my colleague was submitting, that this problem is not about MLC. The problem, in our view, is certain individuals within the Ministry of Information and Media, technocrats, who should be actually giving advice to the government based on the policy direction that has been given. But they have vested interest and personal agenda to circumvent a process that is not theirs. Now, MLC, on their own accord, in their own admission, they revealed to the nation that a few days ago, they held a validation meeting with officials from the Ministry of Information and Media, and which meeting was chaired by the Attorney General, and this meeting was held in the Attorney General's chamber. So when the minister says the government is not involved, why is the Attorney General, who is the chief legal advisor to the government, chairing a validation meeting of a bill that has not been consultative and has never taken care of the interest of the journalists?
And contradicts the policy direction of the president.
Exactly. So already that's a big question mark. A validation meeting of an obnoxious bill being chaired by the Attorney General, chief legal advisor to the government, brings a lot of questions, to the fore. Then, responding to my sister, Felicitas, first of all, Hope, these are our colleagues. We know them. We know Felicitas. We know Wendy Mporokoso. We know Joy. We know Ernest Chanda. We know Brighton Piri. We know these colleagues. But I ask you a question. When did they practice? At least for Ernest, I know. Recently was appointed as one of the principal public relations. Yeah. Before then, he was an editor at the Mast newspaper. He is, been practicing much recently. But if I talk about my other colleagues, and I don't mean, to demean them at all. I am just speaking, if they're saying they're representing journalists, listen to the conversations from journalists themselves. They're saying, we don't know them. Why do they want to represent us when we don't practice together? Where are they practicing? Where is Felicitas practicing? Where is Wendy practicing? Where is Brighton Piri practicing? They are not practicing journalists. They are journalists who used to practice. They're no longer practicing. So where is the mandate coming from? And then most people have, accused media owners to say, no, media owners have run away. In fact, even in their briefing yesterday, they were accusing media owners that media owners have run away with this process, which should be literally run by journalists. Tell you what, if you look at even the executive of the Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia, it's journalists themselves. You have two gentlemen, one from Muchinga, In fact, there are two from Mchinga, one from Radio Itonta. In Chinzari, sits on the Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia. You have Jessie Bwalia. I think she's working for one of the radio stations, Beats Radio, here in Lusaka. She's a journalist. You have another journalist who is also a Catholic priest from Northwestern Province, Solwezi. He sits on the executive. He's a journalist. So the very fact that I have been seconded from the, and I need to put this clear for people to know. When we came together as MISA Zambia, Media Owners Association, PANOS, Institute of Southern Africa, Catholic Media Catholic Services, BBC Media Action, Internews and Free Press, we said, can we have an interim organization or body that would drive this? And then at some point, when we have formulated the code of ethics, we have formulated the constitution and all of this, we will then ask the journalists to come and interrogate this and see if there is anything that they can give as input. So each of these institutions asked one person to sit in the steering committee. I only happened to be seconded by the media owners to sit on that particular, steering committee in an interim capacity. Now, when we did all the groundwork in consultation with the journalists, in fact, one thing that I hope many people don't know is we went around the country to all the 10 provinces where we didn't go physically. We had virtual consultative meetings with journalists.
Those were held?
Yes, they were held. And they gave input into the process. And when we had an AGM here in Lusaka at Mika Convention Center, the journalists endorsed the constitution. They endorsed the code of ethics. And later on, we had an elective AGM. And guess what? The committee that is there today, which I chair, was elected by journalists themselves from across 10 provinces. Even though I may be from the Media Owners Association, my primary qualification is like Joseph. We are journalists. It is called value addition. If you have cattle, a farmer of cattle, and you sell raw meat to Zambia, and at some point you say, you know what, let me open a processing plant. Instead of selling to Zambia, I'll start selling sausages. That's all we did. That's what I have done. That's what Joseph has done. Joseph is a journalist. Yes, he's associated with a media house, but that doesn't disqualify him from being a journalist. I am a journalist. I'm just associated with a media house. It's value addition. So we are representing the interest of every single practicing journalist. In fact, in the next few days, we want journalists themselves to speak at the press conference so that people can hear. They've heard Jen, they've heard Joseph, and they've heard me, and people still think it's a process that has been hijacked by media owners. Far from it. Yeah. You will hear journalists come and speak to this themselves to say they can't allow a law to regulate them. They are professionals. They know what needs to be done.
Yeah. Now, Jane, I know as Mrs. Zambia, you've been following up closely on this matter and voicing out strongly. So why hasn't there been finality to this issue with successful governments? What's been the main issue?
Wonderful. So first of all, I want to also clear the air on the aspect of the issue of professionalism of the media. What is professionalism? When you talk about the code of ethics for journalists, it's that you make sure that your facts are right, you verify your information, you render an apology or a retraction where you have committed a wrong. And the Zambian media have been doing that. So when people talk about professionalism, I'm asking myself, what are they really talking about? What is the other standard that they know about that is not known? Like the two gentlemen have said, there is already a code of ethics that is in place. Every media house in Zambia that I know is worth its salt has rendered a retraction or an apology. for the mistakes that they have made. And when they broadcast the news,
because there's also seen you, as Mrs.
Yes,
Zambia pointed
yes,
some of those
yes.
mistakes, and
And-
you've issued those letters. We've seen that happen. So maybe do you think that's the reason why they're calling for this?
So professionalism in Zambia for the media has been there. If you look at some of the high profile convictions that have occurred in this country, they have been as a result of media houses. That means that media are truthful, they verify information before they publish. Even cases that were taken to court as a way of just threatening them, they've been able to win the media in Zambia. So when you talk about professionalism, that's what it is. If you're able to win a case in court, it means that you were applying the ethical standards that are required. So now, when you talk about the separation of issues to do with the welfare of journalists, you know, I will read to you what a union is. Union plays a crucial role in promoting fair treatment, safe working conditions, and social justice for workers. The function of a media ethics regulatory body is not so much the welfare. Its interest is so much the ethical application, of the profession. So now when you hear people who are already talking about professionalism of the media and they are mixing up with the welfare, there are unions in this place, in this country, for journalists. The Zambia Union of Journalists, Zambia Union of Broadcasters and other information disseminators. So how much do you want to replicate in terms of the things that are happening? And also the important thing is that you consistently have to carry a particular position, because you don't have to. Today you were a chairperson of this organization, you believed in self-regulation without not being backed by law. Tomorrow again you go to another entity, you create another organization, now you believe in regulation that is backed by law. Again, people will begin to question you and say, you were in the board of an organization that believed in self-regulation. What causes you to shift? Are you shifting every time your position as you are moving along? So it is all those things. So really, professionalism, welfare of journalists, these are separate things, and people should be able to understand them that way. They shouldn't mix up the two aspects, because again, that's a marketing point of this particular bill, which shouldn't be. We should be dispelled here and stated categorically that there is a variation. Now, of course, the finality of it, you know, when you talk about the media regulation and ethics, much of it has been a problem of either. I remember that time when we had come up with the ZAMEC bill, the original, for self-regulation, where all media houses had agreed to be part of it. Do you know who put a knife into it? There was a Minister of Information, I forget whether it was Mr. Shamenda, it was late Shikapwasha. They said at the time we were supposed to launch on World Press Freedom Day at Pamozi. And I was a bit young that time, and there were other people that were there leading that process. All the civil society, all the media houses had agreed. And you know, one who said that we don't want this thing, it's the government. And in the end, it compromised everything, because now the state-owned media could not really take a stance. So it is issues like that where one
There's even a child protection policy on this document. So what we need, last time when we held a meeting with among ourselves as executive for media owners, what we did was we said we need to try and look for resources to help Chairperson Mambwe to publicize this document. We need more people, more citizens, more Zambians to know that actually there is a code of ethics that media associations, journalists, and individual media owners ascribe to. We are supposed to follow this code of ethics as long as you are a member. So we need to publicize this so that more people can know about it. And once they know, they will be reporting us. But if they don't know, they may not be able to find this document.
So what do you make of? I mean, you keep pointing to the fact that, well, there's this position from State House and from the ministry are getting this position. Is there anything we need to know?
Yeah, I think what we need to know is that there is defiance of the president's directive. But this is not
You feel
strange.
that's the case there?
It is. Categorically, the president himself has said that the number of technocrats, government officials, they don't follow his directive. He will make a directive in one direction. People, junior people,
of how can journalists work with media owners and other advocacy media institutions to promote media self-regulation. It is already working. It is how can we strengthen it? Because as you know, and I think many listeners and viewers who are watching us online know this. If you've been listening to some radio stations and watching TV stations, at least I can speak for where I'm coming from. There are even jingles running in news and prime time to say this media house subscribes to the code of ethics, put together by the media ethics, media self-regulation council of Zambia. This thing is working to let the people know that there is an executive in place. There is a group of people and organizations that believe in self-regulation of the media. There is a code of ethics that Joseph has just talked to there. There is the media, an independent, by the way, independent media ethics and complaints committee, which is away from the journalists. Very eminent individuals sit on the media ethics and complaints committee, chaired by Mr. Sam Judah, legal counsel, who is also former journalist. He was a deputy managing editor
for the Post, yes.
For the Post newspaper. So he has a lot of media background in terms of experience. And now, on top of that, he's a practicing lawyer. And then he's deputized by Mr. Fanuel Chembo. He's a veteran journalist. He used to be director at MISA many years back. There's Sister Kayula from the Catholic. She's a development specialist. She sits on that. There is also Kamuchishi. He's a journalism lecturer from one of the universities. And there is another lady who is within the government establishments. I may not, mention her name, but she's a journalist, she's a lawyer, and she's a law enforcement, person. Sits on. These are independent, away from the newsrooms. So when the public has a complaint against KBN, they have to write. There's an ombudsperson. They have to write to them to say we're complaining about the conduct of KBN and what. I see many people complain about KBN and what. Let me give you an example. There was an incident where the team at KBN aired an old footage online about some incident in Chingona. When it came to our attention that was an old footage, I had to go public, both on TV and online, to render an apology, because that is the ethical requirement from the media self-regulation point of view, when you realize you are wrong, you need to apologize. You need to retract. And if you don't retract, there are punitive measures that we have put in place within this mechanism, the name and shame and the training. If a journalist is consistently proving to be on the wrong side of the ethics, we recommend training for them. And our argument has been this: you cannot cure professional misconduct with a jail sentence. If there is professional misconduct, the best cure is training and retraining. And before I give room to my colleagues, I want to mention this. We've been told that this particular bill is a private. Room to my colleagues. I want to mention this. We've been told whichever member of parliament they've been talking to go and sponsor a private member is aware of these limitations, and we are saying no to these things.
Now, Mr. Mwenda, Socialist Party President Fred Membe has compared the Zambia Institute of Journalism bill to the restrictive media environment under Frederick Chiluba's regime. How do you distinguish this bill from past attempts at media control?
It's the same.
It's the same.
There hasn't been much that they've moved from it. The wording could be different, and maybe the people who are architects now could be different. But it's the same push. And most of the times, governments will not say, we are moving on with this. They will always identify people that they are going to say, we are not the ones, it's those guys, and they are fellow journalists. That has always been the modus operandi. And the problem is, look, Hope, there is no independent journalist of sound mind who will go to government, please regulate me. I'm begging you, regulate me. It fails back. Government, please regulate me. You are pushing. As a private journalist, it doesn't make sense. What is your motivation? But further to that, Hope, you see, the problem with this bill is that it actually targets a journalist. Okay, there is no vicarious liability here. If a journalist has created a problem, maybe they've reported falsely, instead of the media institution to handle that problem, this bill says you as a journalist, you are the one to face the sanctions. If they are jailing you, and not me as an editor. But we know that journalists don't make policy decisions in a newsroom. Okay, they are guided. You are going, what are you working on? What have you brought? The final decision to publish what gets to be published rests with the editor. But if you are saying a journalist is going to face the following sanctions, then you are actually creating a problem. And these are the things that our own journalists needs to know. When we are saying that we are fighting this, people should not look at it from the profit point of view to say you are trying to fight it because you want to make more money. There is absolutely nothing like that. And those people to express themselves. Now, if you are saying you cannot practice, where are you going to draw a line to say this is an article, now this is a news story, so therefore the one who wrote this needs to have a license? Are we saying that even opinion writers in the newspaper, for example, or these people you feature on radio, they also should be licensed? Because they have to express their freedom of speech and expression. That if you regulate them in that sense, then you are meaning that no one now should talk.
Jane, do you also think there's a risk of criminalizing journalists or media outlets under this proposed framework? Do you feel that will be the case as well?
Yes, I mean, if you talk about jail terms, already that's a criminalization. Yeah, I mean, when you have to, when you talk about journalism, or you talk about the law, first of all, is that there is the issue of retraction apology. Those are the hashes that a media house, a journalist can get for committing an offense of either omission or not reporting the truth, isn't it? Now, where you have to start going to jail terms to try and correct a problem, then you're already going the route of like the cybercrime, cybersecurity, the penal code, which are all criminal. And that's why we're even saying that there should be decriminalization of defamation. Now, why do we say that? When you talk about a law, there should be proportionality to it. These are some of the yardsticks that you use when you're coming up with a law. There should be necessity. Now, when you talk about proportionality, first of all, it's that we look at journalism. Journalism is a very important aspect to society and to democracy for good governance and transparency and the proper use of resources so that people are able to benefit. But where you have very stringent punishments such as jail terms, registration of journalists, it is the kind of proportionality or being able to fit into the purpose for which this particular law is drafted is defeated. It is actually, that's where we had certain provisions in the penal code being ruled as unconstitutional, because now they were more heavy than protecting human rights and facilitating democracy. And these include, that's why even section 69, defamation of a president, was removed, because here is a president who has to compete with other presidents to win the presidency, and he has made promises which you have to ask him, why are you not fulfilling these? But as you are asking along the way, people were being slapped with defamation of the president. That's why it was even ruled unconstitutional. So that's why proportionality is very important. So in media, an apology, a retraction, these are key elements for keeping sanity in the media and making sure that they are reporting the truth. It's a very big blow. You are a journalist, you walk in and you are found that you didn't report the truth and an apology has to be issued out. It's very painful for the media house, because you are already in the public court where people are seeing what you're doing as a media house and might doubt you. And then there should also be necessity as well. Is it necessary that we should have yet another law that is in place that should regulate and also give jail terms when there's already the penal code, when there's already the cybersecurity, cyber crimes?
So you feel there are enough laws to support that already?
Exactly. So when you talk about some of the yardsticks for measuring a law, it's necessity, proportionality. These things are also very cardinal. And looking at this particular law, it doesn't apply to even just a standard for coming up with a law, because its sanctions are not proportional. It's also not necessary at the end of the day. So really, we don't need any extra laws. But also, maybe I should just mention here that Professor Kasoma, one of the founding fathers who had done a lot for the academic component of the journalism growth in Zambia, he actually opposed this. Other governments had actually started this bill as well. So it is not the first time we are hearing about it. Me, I've heard about it now about 3 to 4 times. But even before I had finished my grade 12, there was Professor Kasoma who fought statutory regulation, which was trying to be introduced in the times of, I think, the one-party state, and in the times when MMD had come in and democracy was hitting. But then whenever governments begin to become a bit unpopular,
government that go for consultation. We went for consultation, asked all the journalists, they said we don't want statutory regulation. So what is the position? We came up with a position paper, which position paper we submitted to our parent ministry to say this is what journalists have endorsed. And the journey started from there. So to come and hear that there is actually another law to replace the defunct Zamek bill was very shocking. And so we feel that there needed to be wider consultation, but the consultation needed to be with the journalists themselves who said no to statutory regulation. That's why we are saying the colleagues who are pushing this agenda have an ulterior motive other than to secure and protect the interest of journalists. What is so exciting about suggesting a jail term for a journalist? That is really unthinkable. And so we can clearly see that they have an ulterior motive. Other than that, it is okay for them to speak to government and say, look, our real need is this, other than hiding in the name of regulating the media and creating this body and say we are here to protect the interests of journalists, when they themselves are actually not practicing. Now, I must also mention this, Hope, just for the nation to know how serious this is. From the time that the government withdrew the Zamek bill and the journalists reconstituted themselves and said we want to self-regulate, and the Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia was set in motion, guess what? We received, Zambia, I must not say the media, Zambia received commendation from the Human Rights Watch International and so many, Africa Union, on human rights. They commended not the journalists but the country. Why? For promoting media self-regulation. And out of that, the nation might wish to know that Zambia, because of the media self-regulation, now sits on an intercontinental body called the Network of Independent Media Councils in Africa. And Zambia was elected to sit on that board in May last year. So these are kudos that accrue to a nation just by one political pronouncement. Zambia is in a better limelight internationally. This year, somewhere in July, there is a second international meeting for the Network of Independent Councils in Africa. Guess what? It's being hosted in partnership with the Republic of Tanzania. The president is involved. in the organization of journalists coming into Tanzania. Now, I ask a question. If perhaps because Zambia sits on this continental body, they say, okay, Tanzania this year has hosted, next year let's take it to Zambia. And then they come to Zambia only to find in Zambia there is statutory media regulation. And we are supposed to be working with the government to organize this showpiece that brings international delegates together. You see, we need to realize that we are in a global village, and so this is a plus for the government and they must be commended, and we are hoping that going forward this issue will never rise again.
Right, we now get to the phone lines. If you have any question or contribution to make, the number to dial is 0974 870 877. That is 0974 870 877.
Listening to the Hot Seat on Hot FM 87.7. It's time for you to call now and get involved. Call now and get involved.
Hello, good morning. You're through to the Hot Seat.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Samunda. Good morning, Adam Chira. Good morning, Samambwe.
Good morning. You said Lawrence?
Lawrence, yes.
All right, Lawrence, go on with your contribution.
Thank you so much. So, if the media bill has been rejected, my question is, who drafted the bill? Because there's a serious process when you're drafting a bill. So who has drafted the bill? So if the Minister of Information and Media rejected the bill, the person rejected the bill, who in the ministry is going against it? The minister is going against the president. Or maybe it's another side of the security bill where you go it from Parliament. The next you see passing third reading, they now attempted. Is that what you are seeing? They refuse, and then now start it in 2 law, and then say now keep quiet, please. We heard from the American embassy in announcing the country. What is really going on in this country? Because every time they reject, the letter is coming, no, it's not coming. This is what happening, no, what's happening next. Is it happening? Is it a kangaroo play or a kind of balance you are seeing in this country or what? So who drafted the bill? That's my question. And if those what drafted the bill are there, why are they going against the president and the...
Thanks. Your name?
Mukambana Chimwene Mtonga from Mtumbi.
Okay, Mr. Mtonga, go on.
The bill yamene yevana saina na president yamene cyber bill yamene yevana saina siri mushe kulise mazambiani. Iyevei oloma investors wazambo ngala na manta just because development is zambo yuona kuti again kuli ma media ya muzambo kange wa kusa investigate muri bandani ba ruling party oloni minister pezeka musando then kuti ba mitu mileni oloni for example ndine na pezeka na hizi la scandal then kuti ni mtu mileni clip kuti amverani so nichi muzankara kwa manta na imwe so biu yao ya president eva nakana muri nishibali mu opposition party apa peve apa ndepe taona ti government yeve irulinga dictatorship so ini dictatorship no wonder peza ti ba George Mutonga bashikalizaini kuli sema Zambiani apa peve ndepe taona kuti ba president watu sivati tandezira kuli sema Zambiani so kuli se taona ti monga ti apa manje olo makozi wewe baona ti aba bantu vazaita de campaign se vazambo ticho sapo beta tivaletele iko yawe yamene yakuti izambo vatandezira noanda peza ti vambo kangi wakutipasa unga wochipa then manje vaona ti ava vantu kuti tivatande ife tisachokepo tivaletele iko noambo saina la mulo yamene izatiletela ndani izatishika defend 2026 so whether vatiletele la mulo yanyuwani vachite delimitation but our 2026 waenda wafuna siwafuna wa president stari zote zewa panga hizi
okay tavela vemo tambasko mine okay skomo. All right, we'll take in another one and then I'll allow you to respond. Hello, good morning. You're through to the hot seat.
Good morning and good morning everybody. You are talking to Morgan within Osaka.
All right, Mr. Morgan, go on.
No, one thing I can tell you that the journalists and the media are very important in the world, not only in Zambia. Because the motto, what is the motto of journalism? is to inform, entertain, and educate. And they have to be free. All of us will support them, but the only point, there is some media houses who are pushing the agenda for the political party, so that when that political party wins, they have the opportunity of jobs. Journalists and journalism should be in between, should be in checks and balances, not to be a side of any political party. You are there to work for the masses of people of Zambia, not to be politically motivated. We have seen where journalism, when there is a news, any print media, against that political party and promote one political party. And we have seen it before. So that's what we don't want. And we know in previous government, there was some media were suspended, some media were closed, even prison media. I don't want to go there. Post was closed, even Crime TV was closed. Movie TV was suspended, and now it's down today. So, we don't want to see that issues are there. We want to respect the media, and you need journalists, respect yourself. Don't use by one political party. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morgan there. All right, so we have those calls. Is there anything you would love to address there, Mr. Mwenda?
Yes, of course. I'll start with a comment from Lawrence, who is asking, who drafted this bill? We also don't know, but the bill exists. And I think it would have been very nice if we had Honorable Cornelius Mwetu there, or somebody from the government, and I think that people would have enjoyed the conversation even more. How does this document, how do they explain this particular document? We don't know who drafted the bill, and that's why we are here to raise questions and concerns, because we feel it was being done secretly. To Mtonga, I understand his confusion, because there are so many things happening at the same time. There's constitutional amendment, there's cyber security, and now the journalism bill, there's an NGO bill. So there's so many things happening. A citizen can even be confused of what we are discussing. We're not discussing the cyber security bill today. We're talking about the journalism bill, okay, which we are opposed to. And I understand his confusion. But I also, I'm interested in the comment from Morgan, who says some media houses are pushing the agenda of political parties. This is true, but here is the issue. Citizens, Zambians, are more intelligent than any other media house or editors put together. Readers, listeners, viewers are more smart, more intelligent. They are able to read between the lines. If a media house is particularly supporting one particular political party, they will be able to see, and the numbers will drop. They will stop following that particular media house. They will know that this particular media house is for political party X, and for that reason, they will simply stop following, stop reading, stop watching or listening. So it is not even a problem for the people. Actually, it's a problem for the business, for the media house. Okay, the people will be able to identify, and you have the right, Mr. Mtonga, to stop following that particular media house which you feel is actually pushing the agenda. And once they see that nobody is reading, nobody is listening, no one is watching, then they will be able to know that we have gone astray. Let me wind up, Hope, by raising a very important point that veteran journalist and lawyer Dixon Jerry, who let me cite his work, not in terms of him doing the case, but in terms of research. There's a 1995 case which he posted just a few days ago, where he was actually speaking to a judgment that was made when the MMD government in 1995 pushed this agenda. There was a ruling by the court in 1995. Let me cite what the judge said. I do not, in my view, consider the decision of to constitute the Media Council of Zambia to be in furtherance of the general objectives and purpose of the constitution powers, among them to promote democracy and related democratic ideas. Okay, that was Judge Anthony Nyangulu. He goes further to say, in light of the above, it cannot be seriously argued that the creation of the Media Association of any other regulatory body by the government would be in furtherance of the ideas embodied in the constitution vis-a-vis freedom of expression. There's a problem there if you cannot go back to this judgment. It's there. Our friend and the stakeholder has actually posted this for everybody to read. If you cannot at least see that there was even a judgment here, then why are you pushing this agenda? That the court has actually said this should not be done. You cannot regulate the media because it will actually be inimical to the provisions of the Constitution.
All right, let's take in more calls and then I'll allow Jane and Mr. Mambo to come in. Let's take in another set of calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my sister Hopo.
Good morning, thanks. Your name?
This is Comrade Mukosa.
Mukosa, all right, go on.
Pastor Mambo, good morning.
Good morning.
And these are the comrades. Good morning also.
Good morning.
Yes. This issue of which regulated journalism, me, I knew from the beginning that this is something that cannot happen. Because from the time in opposition, the president, then in opposition, he was very clear on this issue, that he would like you media houses or journalists to regulate yourself. But you need to be above board. That is what he has been always saying. So when I heard people start crying, no, this government, as citizens at some point we need to sit down and analyze these issues on our own. Then not always want to listen to these politicians that are always want to advance their political agenda to make the government look like it's doing things that are not beneficial to the country. This is where we are, because we have opposition political parties, leaders that has made this country to be debating issues that are not beneficial to us. They want us to be discussing propagandas, debating things which are not there. So for me, my only complaint that I have to these remedial houses is that there is a tendency where when us people that are supporting or want to make sure that this government performs to expectations of the Zambian people, and will not allow people to come and rubbish what we know government has done something which is beneficial to the Zambian people. We are called all sorts of names. They will tell you, no, you are paid. There is some people that are paying you. But those who are opposing to the government, when they say whatever they say, they are not told to be paid by the opposition.
All right, you should be wrapping up.
Yes, I'm wrapping up. Now, my question is, those media houses that are behaving in that manner, what is their agenda? Is it that they just want people that are against the government to be speaking? Those who are supporting the government, who have realized that this government has performed, even when it had a lot of difficulties during these 2 years as a country because of drought and other challenges. We don't have to speak. We don't have to air out our views.
All right, Mr. Mpasa, we get your question. Let's allow them to respond.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We get your point. Thank you so much. All right. All right, we're just taking another one. 0974-870-877. That is the number to dial if you would love to get through to the hot seat. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. You're through to the hot seat. Hello. All right, seem to have lost that line. We'll take in another one. Hello, good morning. Good morning, you're through to the hot seat.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thanks. Your name?
This is Samuel Mangala, senior citizen.
Mr. Mangala. All right, go on.
The panelists, good morning. What I don't understand is where does this enmity come from between successive governments and you, the media? I consider the work that you do is for the benefit of the government, for people to know everything that we know now because of the media. But there appears to be this kind of enmity or trying to regulate you, trying to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. Trying to regulate you is one of the things that I've always opposed. Because you are professionals in your own right. You know what your work is all about. But what makes me wonder is, do these governments, successive governments, consider you a threat to them? And this is not the case. In which way? I don't understand that. So maybe you can explain to me why this is so. The current debate that we are there for, I think, is a fight that should actually ignore, because I think certain things we need to discuss about them. It's just a matter of wasting time. You have your own right to guide where you know you should guide, to advise where you know you should advise. I think I'll just end up there. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Mangala. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Mambo, is the relationship that bad? Government and the media?
Before I answer the last caller, Mr. Fano Mwangala, you know, this man is an ardent follower of literally every media outlet. Let me address the issue raised by Mr. Mukosa. Mr. Mukosa, you are right. The president has been very consistent on the issue of media self-regulation. He said while in opposition, he has continued while in power, that his government does not intend to regulate the media. He's on record. And we think he draws this conviction from the fact that the president was a board chair, I believe, of the Media Trust Fund back in the days. He understands the challenges of the media. He understands the political interferences that media houses face. So he has had first-hand experience, and he has information, which is different from most, political players. They speak from without. They don't speak from an informed position. So we are not surprised that the president has put finality to this issue, because he has first-hand information, having served as a board chair for the Media Trust Fund some years back. Now, Mr. Mukosa says political supporters, he talks about how the media should not threaten or whatever. I would like to answer him this way. In fact, Mr. Mukosa, you must realize that political supporters like yourself, you need to respect the they'll be condemned. The media is out of context. What? They are forgetting. And hope that answers the question. Is the enmity that bad? The constitutional mandate of the media to hold that those people in power. The issue is this. Most political supporters who are other colleagues who support political parties must know. Political parties, what is known as cadres, when a media house writes a story and the media aligned politically in a particular manner, they will be condemned. This headline is out of context. What? For you to now begin to reinvent yourself and catch up, people would have known. They are forgetting to understand the constitutional mandate of the media to speak truth to. Of the media, it is to speak truth to power. It is to hold those who are in power accountable. The constitutional mandate of the media to hold those people in power accountable. Here is one bitter truth that our colleagues who support political parties must know. Political parties will come and go, Zambia will remain. The reason why the media the fourth estate, and the media must not be aligned. To this day, in the past 4 years that the UPND has been in power, never been invited, not once, to a state function. So what does that mean? If there's an enmity, it's a people to judge.
No, but then, as much as that may be the case, one will say we still expect, high levels of professionalism from those media houses, then if that may be the case. Yes. The wrongs will not make it right.
There is always a place of, you need, even if a husband and wife are not talking to each other, they have to find a place of saying, you know what, can we talk? What's wrong? How can we resolve this issue? You can't just pretend that, there is no professionalism when you haven't engaged, just because you're not seeing your story, and you don't know that you actually have never reached out, you have never engaged, and so you cannot expect them to cook in the manner that you want to cook, because they are not engaged.
Right, Jane, is there anything you would love to respond to?
Yes, indeed.
Of saying, you know what, can we talk? What's wrong? How can we resolve this issue? You can't just pretend that
government is doing
there is no professionalism,
which is like one of the driving
when you haven't engaged, just because you're not seeing your story, and you don't know that you actually have never reached out, you have never engaged, and so you cannot expect them to cook in the manner that you want to cook because they are not engaged.
Right, Jane, is there anything you would love to respond to?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much to the callers, Mr. Mkosa, Mr. Mtonga, Mr. Lawrence, and the senior citizen, Mr. Mangala. When you talk about the media is a marketplace for ideas. And so if government is doing something, for instance, they have CDF right now, which is like one of the driving forces for development, and it's a good thing because I've come across some citizens that are doing very well with the grants that they've been given. I just found someone in Western Province as I was doing research there, using the CDF funds very well. He has set up a small industry where he's producing a traditional brew. So those are the good things that you can pick out from what they are doing, and we hope that those are some of the things that media still do pick up, right? So media is a marketplace of ideas where people can provide a contrary view. So for instance, CDF is working out well, but what are some of the things that are not working out right? So a person will come and talk to the media and say, I think CDF is okay, but maybe it is not known to the people. And then the way that the money is being given out, we feel like there's lack of accountability. So that is not to say they are not appreciating the good things that the government is doing, but it is a place where all different citizens, players are giving out a voice. When you talk about democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so you will not expect the media every time to just provide a platform that will talk good about the government and also its programs, or even good about the opposition all the time, and all its manifestos or whatever it is saying. The media is a marketplace for ideas that are both positive and negative. So you will not expect the media to all the time report positively. But also the issue is that an editorial policy determines. So if it's a media house that carries out investigative journalism, you'd expect a lot of negative related content, because what it is trying to do is just like you talk about traffic police, and then you expect that they won't inspect your car, or they won't stop you for maybe a particular traffic offense, because that is their primary role. So the media also has a role of being a watchdog, setting the agenda, and so they try to correct and bring out issues that people also are facing. And so in Chinyanja they say, Wamotukulu sale wankonya. Every time you're in government, expect everyone to be crying out to you. So you could be doing something, but there are other people whose needs you may not have met. Even at family level, it is like that. So for most of the political party supporters who were in opposition, who were getting coverage, and their ideas were bought into, and they've been elected into power, eventually they begin to see the media as a bad thing that is peddling only negative things. But literally it is a place where different ideas are marketed, and the best idea carries the day. So when you talk about media and its coverage, I would like to maybe just bring it from the perspective of historically. When we talked about the MMD as it was trying to come into power, it was actually striving to get publicity to get to the Zambian people as they were campaigning, and largely it was state-owned media that was in place. So it was and that is why they said they want to reform the media sector, and this is how we see this growth, exponential growth of different radio stations that are there currently. So as soon as it came into power and everything else, and you're hearing, 1995, that's when this journalist bill or media council bill wanted to be passed. So you see that actually the very people who have used the media to get to where they are, they know the power that the media holds to be a place for ideas which people can buy into, and so they want to suppress, because really it's an issue of continuing to exist. But also people must remember that it's not necessarily that if the media reported positively or negatively, then you're going to be okay as a political party or someone in government or as in opposition. Because if you look at the previous trends, UNIP was in power and they had much control of the state-owned media, and there was very few private media. But if people's expectation and what they wanted was not being delivered, they still voted contrary. So the MMD had the machinery of the state-owned media. It was giving as much coverage as possible, where MISA was even doing now, monitoring of the media and seeing how much coverage they were getting, even the PF. But to the contrary, if people voted in a different way. So really, the media is a marketplace for ideas, and it is the citizens who make a decision based on the delivery of a particular political party or government, based on their expectation. If not, then they move on to the next idea. So people must not really be worried that the media is either negative or positive. The important thing thing is that it's a marketplace for ideas, and of course we have to make sure that there is a level of autonomy, and that's why we call for autonomy, because people then will decide. Ultimately, if people see results on the ground, they cannot move even if they were continuous negative publicity.
Okay. Right, we've come to the end of the program. Mr. Mwenda, I will get your concluding remarks. You have been in this profession for so many years as a journalist. What do you have to say to the Zambian people? How do we get it right with such issues?
My job, Hope, is very simple on this program. It is to tell the Zambian people that this bill is a bad bill. If there is anyone in government, given the president's position yesterday, if there is anyone in government, be it at the ministry or at parliament, who has this document, they should stand up now, go throw it in the dustbin, or shred it if they have a shredder. It should not resurface again, because this conversation has to be put to rest now. Okay? In saying what the president said yesterday, what he is practically communicating is that he is a comfortable president who is comfortable with a critical media operating in the country that he is ruling. That means that when a media house professionally criticizes the government, he doesn't have a problem with that. In fact, Hope, a critical media actually is even more important to the party in power than the citizens. Because you see, if you gag the media, you won't even know what the people are saying. You want to know what the temperature is looking like. In the end, that's how people get surprised. Because they didn't know things were bad. They are only going to know if things are bad by professional critical media. So I am saying thank you to the president for his position. And we are also saying to anybody who is pushing this, please stop it. It's a bad bill. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mwenda there. Mr. Mambwe, that's your concluding remarks as well.
Thank you very much, Hope, and the management at Hot FM for according us this opportunity to speak on this very important national issue. And I'd like also to mention that given that the bill is there, no one knows who drafted. It's a point of reflection for the ministry and do an internal post-mortem to determine who is going against the policy position of the head of state. It's very embarrassing to allow such to be perpetuated. To our colleagues in MLC, there is room in my father's house. Here at Media Self-Regulation Council of Zambia, with our colleagues at MISA, Media Owners, BBC Media Action, and all of these, there is room for you. You are journalists. We acknowledge your days of practice, and we can benefit from your wealth of wisdom. We extend a branch of friendship and brotherhood, and let's be family. Let's work together. There is absolutely no need to be pulling in different directions when there's a policy direction that says media must work together. Thank you very much. All
right, thank you so much, Mr. Mambode. And Jane, we'll close with you as Mr. Zambia, your position, your final word on this.
Thank you very much. So the bill is an enemy of democracy, human rights, and also autonomous media and journalism. It belongs to the bin. It shouldn't be enacted or entertained in any way. Let Zambia continue on the right trajectory. We have good number of media houses in place. We have the access to information law. We have repealed section 69 and 67 in the penal code, all in efforts to try and improve the media's autonomy and the democratic space in the country. But if we come up with this particular bill and we enact it, Zambia will slide down the rankings in terms of international standard, because world over, the international standard is that you don't come up with statutory ethical regulation or professional regulation for the media. It is anti-democratic, it's anti-human rights, it doesn't support autonomous media and journalism. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so that's it for Tuesday's edition of the Hot Sit, and our guest this morning, we had Media Regulation Council of Zambia Chairperson, Mr. Kennedy Mambwe. We also had Mr. Zambia Programs Manager, Jane Chira, as well as Mr. Joseph Mwenda, who is a journalist. Thank you so much for joining us. You will catch my colleague Peter Zulu on Thursday for Thursday's edition of the Hot Sit. Have a great day.